Hello there, Neurobugs. Welcome back to our Williams Speedrun, part 2 out of 3 for, well, 6th season 2027. First, before we begin, I'd like to thank everyone for 2,000 subscribers. Thank you very much to everyone who has subscribed, liked my videos, and generally just helped the channel grow so quickly as it has during the last couple of weeks. Well, 3 weeks really. And again, just thank you for that. Let us get into it. So, we're about to start the Bahrain Grand Prix. We had a really good preseason, I'd say. As you can see, the regulation didn't hit us as hard as we thought they would. It hit other teams harder by the looks of things. Let's get into the Bahrain Grand Prix and let's see how we do. The Bahrain Grand Prix just finished, as you can see. We lapped everyone. Pourchaire ended up a little bit behind, probably due to going through back markers, which sucks a little bit. But it also had a part there Piastri does not have. Side pod, and even then he kept on falling backwards. Also should be noted that I had a bit of a look on smoothness and just how effective it is during this race, and on Pourchaire's 20 lap stint compared to Piastri's, he basically had about 5% more, because we ran Piastri a little bit on conserve, so it's hard to guess. He had about 5% more to go on over 20 lap stints, so having we're going to check how good of an advantage he has, but I think it's about 35 points. So that's basically why I don't put any points in smoothness. It has too little of an effect right now. But yeah, the race results, we did a 1-2, Red Bull at 3-4, and Ferrari at 5-6. Verstappen did good, climbing up from where he started. McLaren 7th and 10th, and the Mercedes is 8th and 11th. Now, only the top 6 places give points here, so it's going to be interesting to see just how many teams actually end up scoring points this season, with that in mind. Now, in terms of Doohan, he ended up in 18th. He can't really do anything with that wreck of a car that he has, and you can see that reflected in his best lap time, 1:36.1, and Hadjar actually had a better fastest lap than him, but Hadjar ran in a lot more clean air because he was lapped twice, so you can imagine why he might have had an easy time. But as you can see, even our fastest laps, 3.4 seconds faster than third place fastest lap, so our car might be a little bit too dominating, yeah, in all honesty. But I think we'll run the races normally this season. We might do some funny things like Monaco and other tracks that might be difficult to overtake on. Or say have one of our drivers start in the back at Monaco. But yeah, I don't know. We might have come to a situation here where it's a little bit too easy. I'm really looking forward to 1.7 and a fresh start. We might have to see if we do a one-off with, say, Haas or someone else, Haas or Alpha, see if we can make them champions in one season, but we'll have to consider it. Again, if 1.7 is really delayed, maybe, but again, it's hard to decide. I'm just thinking. Now, in terms of championship, of course, no big surprises here. It's the same as finish order. 1-2 for us, Red Bull and Ferrari. Same for constructors, only 3 teams scoring points with the new point system. And let's get on with it. I mean, they still have a decent growth potential here, but it's, I believe, lower than Pourchaire had last year, and he's younger. So Pourchaire probably has one of the highest growth potentials in the game, which is interesting to watch. But that's just gone down to 1.6, still high. And they still did decent, both of them 1,500 points for each, and 850 for Behrman. And as I said earlier, we would like to get a female in, but none of them are allowed. They haven't done enough time in F2 and F3, so I'm probably going to have to wait until someone is 20 or 21 before we can do that. We performed our performance incentives good, which means about an extra $800,000. Again, we don't really need money, not a big concern, but it's still nice. Now Piastri's point is going to go into accuracy. And again, get these to 97. So Piastri has 48 smoothness and Pourchaire has 35. So again, 83. So again, a 35 gap between the two. And 35 points of smoothness is, well, it's a whole lot of points for just, again, 5%. We're going to be looking a bit into smoothness on the other tracks too, just how much of an effect it does have. Maybe we will be upping smoothness here a bit for Pourchaire, try and get it to 100, try and get Piastri's to 50. and see just how much of a different 50 points in smoothness actually has. It could be an interesting thing to do this season, because we currently don't seem like we really need to develop our drivers a lot, all things considered. But let's continue here. Post-race overview Grand Prix. Bahrain Grand Prix, done. Board confidence is high, as you would expect. And we'll have a design completed for the new Grand Prix, Saudi Arabia. Up-and-coming driver, let me guess, another one that we cannot propose a contract to. Again, I wish up-and-coming drivers were drivers that, you know, you could actually do anything with, because right now they're just a name on the list until we can, you know, have something to do with them. We'll be manufacturing this suspension, of course. We'll do it normally. Should be okay. And I believe we might have some... Yep, a new piece here for Piastri's car. And do we have an underfloor? We do. So, as you can see, it's still quite the huge boost here. 0.26 kph. For GS top speed. 0.2 for DRS. Decent amount of turning. So I'm thinking we put this on Pourchaire's car. And see if he can, you know, do something against Piastri. But this is going to make our car, again, even more of a rocket ship compared to our opponents. Which is going to make things a bit, you know, awkward, in all honesty. But it's just how things are. Nothing we could really do about it. Yeah, I think we are good. We should be ready to go to Saudi Arabia. We have just finished the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Pourchaire won. We tried to test a one-stopper versus a two-stopper with Piastri. And as you can see, Piastri was 2 seconds behind. Now, Pourchaire has a new underfloor. Piastri does not. So I think if we had Piastri 2 had the new underfloor, he would have probably beaten Pourchaire. But enough about that. Mercedes had a bit of a comeback here, 3rd and 6th, which means they're in the points. So we now have 4 teams in the points. Sainz and Verstappen scores points for Red Bull and Ferrari, which is weird because they switch teams. And other than that, McLaren is just barely on the edge of points there, along with Alpine and Gasly. So let's just see how the season advances in terms of that. Doohan had a bit of a better race, but still not great, 16th. So he is outscoring his teammate, but it's really hard to say by how much. But it's actually quite a bit, seeing that his teammate has been double lapped. Well, for both races so far. Drivers' Championship, both our drivers are shared first. Russell scores points with a podium, gives him a 4th position. Ocon scoring points moves him up to, as you can see, 7th. And Verstappen stands where he was, but Russell has pushed Norris down 2 spots. Constructors, Mercedes is now in it with the points, as said, moving Ferrari down, but they're actually equal on points. It's probably due to finish position. In terms of development, as you can see, since we had them on split strategies, they suffered because they didn't do any overtaking. Just, as you can see, 1 there for Piastri. 1 overtake, 1 defend. 2 defends, 1 failed overtake, 2 failed defense for Pourchaire. So again, running different strategies isn't good for your team. It isn't good for your drivers. You want them to DRS train off each other so that they can get development points, really. So we might test this again on, you know, once they both have the same car and on a track that is a bit better. Also, we need to keep in mind that Pourchaire doesn't have the same pace stats as Piastri does, so we might have to make some work happen there as well. We gained 1.7 million from performance incentives, which is good. And yeah, a very good weekend for us. Boardroom refurbish has been completed, and we have points here for Pourchaire. Gonna go into cornering. And as I said, they do have difference in their pace and consistency stats, but I think the car was the biggest difference between the two of them this season. Oh, sorry, last race. Boardroom refurbishment complete. We have points for our stuff here that we should get done. And I believe I forgot to actually start a new suspension design. Oh, sorry, a new design after we did that suspension, which I did. And I'm thinking we just do another suspension here. It's probably not going to be a huge upgrade, all things considered, but we need to focus on the minor parts here. We might do a little bit more research once we get it, but for now we'll just do another suspension. It's perfectly alright. It is an expensive part though to manufacture, or sorry, design. And with that, we need to... That's also something we need to keep in mind. And I'm once again a dum-dum because I did that before I put points in here. But for black is not a problem. We're going to do rear wing, moving up to 89. And for, well, the race engineer is who I wanted to get to, but we did. Moves him up to 82. Almost maxed the pit crew management, which, well, helps with pit stops. And Jago also has a point to put in. And of course, I had aerodynamics. Points will go into... I think I'll just go drag reduction. I'm just going to put 2 points on drag reduction here, because I don't know what is the most efficient stat to put everything in. That will require a bit more testing, and right now, we don't need to eke out that little bit of percentage gain, so I'm happy with this. Next race will be Australia in 11 days, and by then we should have some new parts come in for our drivers, of course. Refurbishment has been completed, and we're happy with that. We'll also have a chassis design, I think. We do. And a car development report. Second place is due to, again, us putting the underfloor on Pourchaire's car. How do I want to manufacture these 4 chassis as? I think we will. And we're going to make 4 more, probably down the line, because we're going to do another chassis development project right away. And it's just how things are. We need to focus the chassis, and we are going to do so. Now, I had some question on another video about how expertise works, because this isn't expertise. This is all your bonuses combined. So if I go back one here, this is the expertise. Current expertise for drag reduction for the car part is 50.9. We have boost here from the head of aerodynamics because we upped drag reduction to 90, as you can see. Gain a 0.1% boost. And we have our technical chief, and then we have the design focus. And as you can imagine, this all adds up to attributes. And that is basically how you get it. But expertise is just this little number here. This is your staff. This is your wind tunnel CFD. This is your sliders. And then it all adds up to a certain, you know, attribute percentage. And that is just how things are. There's nothing more we can really do about that. And again, just how things are. Let's get this chassis made, and I believe after Australia, or the next race after that, I believe we will have our first regulation change. We'll actually have it in 5 days, and then we'll have the result in 2 weeks. So I think that is when we will... Just a bunch of manufacturing completed, yeah. I think that we'll have our designs done by then, and then we'll go purely into research again, as we have done in previous seasons. Just to make the life a bit easier. Let's see if there's any big regulations coming in. Minor technical changes. Okay, so low speed downforce, high speed downforce. Now, high speed downforce is easier to get than low speed, I think. Still a fairly, you know, decent regulation though. I think we're gonna vote for high speed. Should be okay. And by decent regulation, I mean it's going to have an effect. Control up for PS3 here. And again, as I'm thinking, we're going to get these up to 97 each. And then we're going to put 2 points into smoothness. And then we're just going to do with overtaking and defending. Smoothness would be nice to boost, don't get me wrong. But I want to test that thing with Pourchaire as well. So we might just go ahead here and invest points to get the smoothness to maximum. And of course, it's going to be worse than PS3 due to, you know, the pace stats and the consistency stats, but it's a tire usage I'm interested in mainly. Underfloor manufactured. There we go. We now have underfloors for both our cars. We also have some other manufacturing projects coming in here, so we're going to get all of them done before we before we do anything really. Performance targets, qualifying Q3, drivers, and qualifying position will be 1-2 as expected. Fastest lap and qualifying position streak, finish position streak shouldn't be a problem. Now, as we're about to head to the race weekend, we're going to go warehouse, we're going to check underfloor here, and we're going to slap one onto Piastri's car as well. Suspensions, again, for both cars, it's, again, a decent boost here. We're going to lose some brake cooling, but the speed, the acceleration, the cornering is, I think, more than worth it. Side pods are on both cars, wings, chassis, we have one. And again, here I was going to say, since this is the second upgrade since the start of the season, it's going to be smaller than your first one, and that is just how research works. Research gives you a balanced car part, and once you set your focuses correctly, it will up the stats quite drastically. So the first part you make every season is actually quite big. If you are a midfield or a lower end team and want to compete from the start of season to, let's say, you can run your project unrushed, but it will result in the third piece you design this season having even less of a, gain than this chassis, because rush gives less expertise, but it gets the part out quick. So if you want to be competitive from the first race of the season, you can, but you're sacrificing a little bit of future gains, if you will. You basically, as I said, we'll be sacrificing a little bit of the future gains. We'll put the new chassis on for Pourchaire, give him again a little bit of an advantage. Oh, I believe that's everything, and we can now head to Australia. We just finished our Australian Grand Prix. Piastri won, but he also took out his teammate, and Pourchaire got retired. Well, we retired Pourchaire manually because he had damage to suspension rear wing, both major, and he was losing about 2 seconds a lap to his competition with, as you see, almost 30 laps to go, so he wouldn't have ended up in the points anyways. We retired the car to save it, and we decided that was the safest thing to do. Piastri had only a damaged front wing, so he was lucky, but he locked up, hit Pourchaire, which sucks, and that's just how it went for us there. In terms of the other teams, we had an impressive performance from Alpine with 3rd and 4th. We now have 5 teams in the points and drivers. And, well, Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes took one of the point scoring positions each. Ferrari will probably be the happiest there with 2nd place, which, well, means a lot of changes to the championship here. Sainz is still 3rd, Leclerc's now up 4th. Show with his podium is up into 6th. Gasly up to 8th, and, well, going to be an interesting season, I think. In terms of the championship, still a lot of changes here due to mainly, where your drivers finish because of the not having any points debacle. And Alpine has actually climbed up 2 positions, Ferrari 1. So this could be interesting. There's 6 points to between 5th and 2nd, but then again, you only get 10 points for winning. So it's actually quite a big gap, all things considered. When it comes to development, it suffered, of course, because of us crashing with each other halfway through the race. As you can see, Piastri didn't get a good rating, and Pourchaire got an even worse one, which, of course, hurts a lot. Performance ratings go up to about an extra 500 points, so if you get a good one, you're gonna benefit greatly. Made about 700,000 from extra performance incentives, so that is good. And with that, we will now have the research beginning as the well, the low speed downforce changes came through, the opposite of the one we voted for. So we're gonna have a little bit of research to do to keep that from not losing too much. And congratulations for the race. We'll start doing research now, because again, our car is just too good, and it's kind of weird to say that, seeing that we had huge regulation changes, but maybe during those huge regulation changes, the AI should cheat a little bit. I know it's kind of bad to say it, but try and make it a little bit more equal, maybe, because right now it's a bit too unbalanced. Get a new chassis on both cars. We're going to make a new front wing because we need to have some in store. We did destroy our cars somewhat. Front wing, rear wing manufactured, good. Now we're back to what we should have. Pourchaire has low morale. Okay. He got crashed out. I understand why he wouldn't be happy about that, but nothing really can do about it. Could be okay once he does a couple more races. Victories, podiums should help, potentially. Behrman has 2 points. We're going to put them into braking, just both of them. And with that, we have the suspensions manufactured. Good. We'll have a design coming in at the end of the race. Well, 2 actually. That's good. Emilia Romagna, our weather center, is in need of refurbishment. We'll get that done. And again, we are given a driver that we can't do anything with. Qualifying Q2, let's go. There we are. And both drivers in top 2. And I think we're ready. Let's head over to Emilia Romagna. We just finished the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. It was a wet race. Pourchaire had an accident, touched the wall. They destroyed his front wing, damaged his chassis slightly. So he is a bit behind Piastri, but still pretty far ahead of the rest of the pack, as you can see. 3rd and 4th lap once, and 5th and down to 17 lap 2 twice, and the last 3 had lap 3 times by Piastri. So pretty dominant performance, I dare say, and the wets just made that even more apparent, which is disappointing, really. Now, on positive news, Gasly managed to gain a podium here for Alpine, and Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes again, 1 car in the points. Verstappen, Sainz, and Ocon. Russell actually crashed out, so that's a bit unlucky for him. But in terms of Drivers' Championship, Gasly with his podium here up into 5th. Verstappen moves up into 6th, and Russell and Shogun Yu both lose 2 positions. And with that, we have 1 slight change in constructors. Ferrari up 1, Red Bull down 1, but they are the same amount of points. So hard to see if that maintains. But again, it could be a weird fight to the end of the season here. Development-wise, wet races don't offer a lot because, as you can imagine, it's basically just, you know, routine for us. Piastri didn't have a single overtake starting in P1. He had some successful defense though, 6. But even so, we didn't have a lot of things happening. We got up front and we stayed there, basically. Have some money, making an extra, well, 1.4 million is good. 6.2 total. And again, money isn't an issue, but it's just nice to see that number. Design for the side pods have been completed. Design for the suspension has been completed. We are going to be manufacturing both of these. And we are going to get back onto, well, research, honestly. Because there's nothing else really for us to do. Research is what we will be doing. Emilia Romagna Grand Prix, good one. Yeah, pretty good, all things considered. First things first, we are gonna do research because of the designs that we finished, but we also have a point in Pourchaire here. I could just max his smoothness just to do testing. She'll still be a really good racer. I think we will do that. We'll try and get his smoothness to maximum here, and maybe do a little bit of testing just purely based on how the tire works. I would assume accuracy and control probably helps, because running the race as efficiently as possible will of course help with your tire wear. So we'll have to see how that works out for us, really. In terms of the other drivers here, we don't have any points. Staff don't have anything to do either. And with that, let's get the research underway. And that research is mainly going to be focusing on, well, the smaller parts here. But of course, we're going to do underfloor. Underfloor is important. Our expertise is almost at 70%. Research benefit would be, well, it would be a small one, but it would be here. I think we're going to put the ATR period into the underfloor. So we'll get some suspension done, we'll get some side pods done, and then we can focus on, you know, the rest. So if we focus drag reduction here, 1.9. Low speed, medium speed, high speed, we're going to focus these because, of course, they take drops due to regulations. Brake cooling isn't going to be a focus. We could do just to, again, get the percentage points up, but we don't particularly care. Sorry about the noises in the background. And let's up the airflow as well. So again, it's not a huge gain, but it's a gain, and we'll be able to run 4 or 5 of these if we really want to. So it would be a 10% boost, which of course is good. Let's get the suspension research going. Let's get the... Do we want to get Revon going? Could be an idea, but this is the sign. But I started the sign instead of a research, or did the game just... Yeah, I started a research, good. Needed to be safe there. We could do one for the rear wing as well. because as you can see, that 30% reduction is another 20% reduction for us in low speed, really. And that's going to make us suffer. So what we could do here to just make up for this one is do something like this and tune down the rest. Again, we're still going to get boosts here because we don't lose anything to begin with. But we'll be able to more quickly regain and gain a little bit extra here probably. So I think can we do this for the rowing? And we might do it for the other parts too, just to make sure they stay roundabouts equal. But for now, that should be okay. We have another design coming up now for the chassis, and I'm thinking we do the same. We just produce the chassis, and then we quickly start researching for the chassis too. Really, we already have a manufacturing project going though. So how far are we into that? One day, and it will be done, and then we'll make some new chassis. That's fine. Let's get research going. Again, we're going to do it for chassis. We could do some side pods here because they suffered the most, really. And we probably will. Chassis doesn't actually have any regulation hits, so yeah, let's do side pods instead. Bring them up to, well, align with the chassis, which would be 50%ish. Let's get that on the way here. Again, we're not going to care too much about cooling. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. As you can see, it's just 24%. So even if we just did one project for the cooling's sake, it would give us 10%. So we might do that towards the end. And honestly, that could also be something we could do. We could try and max cooling just to see if we can do that. Spend one season maxing cooling and seeing if we gain some benefits from doing so. But see, even if we do this, cooling 10%, we gain a full percentage point in everything else. If we do this, on the other hand, we still gain something. Or we gain more if we, tune them up. So, thinking we might just do this. Might just focus everything, really. It'll help the cooling a little bit, of course. We could do this and then focus cooling later. But we'll just do everything. It's okay. Again, engine cooling doesn't really seem to do anything. So, it's a wasted stat, but we could try and just max everything, really. Chassis manufacturing project has been concluded, and we will now start a new one. Because kind of need to have a new chassis online. We'll get it made. We'll get one done for the next Grand Prix, which is good. But other than that, I think we're okay, yeah. Let's continue. Chassis is low in stock. I know, we're making new ones. Shouldn't get that message if we're manufacturing chassis, in all honesty. Memorabilia room has been refurbished. Good. Board confidence checking. I think they love me. Financially, 150 million to play with. Car development report. Basically what we've been used to the last couple of years here. Couple of seasons. First and everything but cooling. And the ATI period has begun. We're also going to refurbish the team hub. Because the extra experience gain mainly is very nice to have. Morale is a benefit, but I don't know exactly how much of a benefit. So front wing design, put out 6 of those, and I'm actually going to see how we're looking in terms of the cost cap after I get the research started for the underfloor. I could also slap in, a front wing research here because it did suffer a lot. It's down to 65%, which isn't the biggest loss, but it's still going to lose some. So I'm thinking with the remaining ATR periods, we do an underfloor, we do a rear wing, and we do a front wing. For research purposes, more or less. So this is what we're going to do, but I'm considering if tuning airflow down. Because the airflow sensitivity is mainly for high speed rather than low speed. And I'm thinking tune it down might benefit us. And also tuning that drag reduction down. We can focus these later once we have actually regained. And 15, 12, and 5 is what we're getting now. We put the ATR in. Gonna get a bit more, but because we're putting the ATR in, we might just run balanced to get the most benefit out of this. Because right now we're getting 0.82, we're getting 26, 21, 8. So we already have, done the high speed one. It's the other two that are a bit of concern. But if we do this, we're going to lose a bit of gain, but we're going to get a lot in drag reduction. And we could do this for the airflow as well. We lose a lot of the gain that we, get back in low speed downforce, but I'm thinking we might just run another project after this one where we focus on what we're lacking purely. So when we do ATR, let's just focus everything. We will have time for another project done. And I think we'll have 2 slots on the small ones and 2 slots on the big ones. And that should hopefully be good enough. In terms of cost cap, what we can expect, we only have 24 million to play with. So we will be a bit limited, I think. It's just how things played out. But it should be okay. Piastri, I'm going to put a point in accuracy, bring him up to 87. Very good. And as I said, we will probably level up smoothness to 50 once we get a little bit closer for Pourchaire 100. And I think we're ready for the next race here. Piastri's performance. Well, it's pretty good. Race prep Miami. Moderate rain. Could have another rainy one. Gonna be interesting. Gonna reach Q2. Gonna qualify both drivers, of course. And pass this lap. And this one will do itself. But yeah, with that said, we're off to Miami. The Miami Grand Prix just finished. As you can see, we did another one too, with 3 stops. McLaren surprised with a 2-stopper, meaning Perez and Bottas got a good result. And the rest of the field all did 4 stops. And AlphaTauri's Albon did 5 due to an accident. Now this was a wet race. We basically had changing conditions from intermediate to wet to intermediate to wet again. And the AI did not handle that well. They need to do some work on the AI's handling of the wet races, because they do pit a lot more than they need to. And they allow their wets to probably run a bit longer than they should, in all honesty. But a good race for McLaren. They gained their first points here at 3-4. The other 2 point scoring positions taken by Russell, Mercedes, Sainz, Red Bull. And in all honesty, it was a pretty simple, straightforward race. Doohan did not have a good one. He crashed, he spun out, and generally didn't have a good time. In terms of Drivers' Championship, Perez and Bottas move up due to them both scoring points. And in Constructors, we have Red Bull overtaking Ferrari because they scored a point. And McLaren getting up into 6th, well, staying 6th really. But they now have points to solidify that position. In terms of development, once again, a wet race means not a lot of development happening, so not much we can do about that. In terms of money, though, did pretty well. Get an extra 4.2 million. We can live happily with that. And with that, we should have all our parts manufactured, because we did get some new ones, for the Grand Prix in 11 days. I had a suggestion that we shouldn't actually research anything until next year. So what I'm thinking is that we try and focus a bit on cooling, because it's, as far as I believe, pretty useless stat. But let's try and maximize cooling just for fun. See if the other teams catch up, and if they can, we might have a bit more challenge next year. And if they can't, we'll probably just say thank you to the Williams save. It's been a good run, and head over to Aston Martin 1.7. It should be coming out sometime this week. We don't know exactly when, but it should be soon, I think. Our helipad has suffered some damage. Let's refurbish. And go for this. But yeah, I'm thinking that we do research, but we'll change to trying to maximize cooling, see how high we can get. Chassis in low stock. I believe we're making new ones, so it should be okay. I think. We'll have to see before next race. Try and hit the cars, if you will. Suspension manufactured. Everything's looking good. And race simulator in poor condition. This one we want to refurbish. Do really like that extra weekly experience gain for both of these. Performance targets for Spain. Let's see. Qualifying, reach Q3. Shouldn't be a problem to get both done, really. Fastest lap shouldn't be a problem. Qualifying streak. Both drivers top 2. 5 races. Let's go. And we will go through the warehouse and see what we're looking in terms of chassis. We'll install them on both cars. Front wing, we have a new one we can install on both cars. Again, it's a small buff, but it's a buff compared to the previous one. And I believe we also have a couple of other things here, like side pods. For car 1, again, a pretty decent buff at the current stage. And the plus has been installed, suspensions have been installed. And if we now have a look at how our car looks towards second place now, which I believe is Red Bull, you can see that we have a tremendous advantage, really. We have 1.3 kph pure, we have a lot more acceleration, we have a lot more cornering. The only thing we're lacking on is cooling, but as you can see, even the other team suffered a lot of cooling loss in this this latest regulation change. Ferrari, on the other hand, again, we have an even bigger advantage. They have a bit more cooling to go on, so we would probably suffer a lot of technical DNFs if we did this, if cooling had a proper effect, so but sadly it does not right now. I'm looking forward to future updates of the game. However, as I said, we'll probably do some research into cooling just for fun. See how high we can push the cooling stat during over the course of this year. And we'll slow down a bit on research and maybe have a bit of a challenge again next year as a result. Let's go to Spain. We just finished the Spanish Grand Prix. As you can see, we did a 1-2. Piastri had a lockup on the last lap, otherwise we would have beaten Pourchaire. We did another test of smoothness basically, and well, the logic used is that the 35 points that is different between Pourchaire and Piastri in smoothness, if Pourchaire put it into driving skills instead, he would probably be as good as Piastri. The thing is, smoothness is very circumstantial. When you're out front, it's not worth it, I feel. If you're a midfield team or a backmarker, probably, because you can then have a more freedom in your choice of strategy, but from a pure pace perspective, it's not as good. Smoothness to me is just straight up circumstantially good. More pace is always good. That's the way I look at it. But yeah, good race, 1-2. Mercedes, both cars on points, very good for them. Sainz fourth for Red Bull, and Albon scores points for AlphaTauri, which is impressive. Verstappen crashed out, and Doohan ended up 16th, so he's doing better than Hadjar, but not by a lot here, sadly. So I guess the car is really, really limiting, and probably the AI strategy as well, to be fair. In terms of driver championship, Russell moves up to 4th here, up 3 places. Ocon moves up to 7th, up 5 places due to scoring points, and Albon is up to 13th now due to, well, scoring his first point, which also helps out the AlphaTauri and the constructors. They now have 7th above the Haas, Alfa Romeo, and Aston Martin, and Mercedes moves up 2 places with their double point scoring position here. So I'll have to see how it is towards the end, but as of this point, we have 4 or 5 times the points of 2nd place, so I think the championship might already be done. Well, more done, if you will. Due to us testing our smoothness, we didn't get the best development, as you can see, but it's still not the worst we've ever had. Still decent. We made a bit of extra money here also, about, well, 1.3 million, which we can be happy about. And we also had the manufacturing for the front wings done, the side pods, and I believe a research slot as well. There we are. Now for Pourchaire here, we are going to be, I think, maximizing smoothness. But let's see, at 5, 6, 12, 17 points here, 12, 12, 24. Yeah, if we wanted to max him, the difference between him and Piastri would actually max him if we took the points from smoothness. So I might be a bit biased, honestly, but I just don't feel it's worth it. So we're still going to test it though, 50 versus 100, just to see what the difference is. Pourchaire will still have no problem getting 2nd in the championship, so I feel like it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Front wing manufactured, side pods, the suspension. And as I said, what I'm thinking that we do here for fun is that we tune down all of these, except of course cooling for the brakes. And let's see how high we can push this in, well, one research season. See if we can push the cooling up to maximum. Of course, we'll get a little bit of extra research and other things, but that's just how things are going to play out. We can't really do anything about that. Race preview for the Monaco. All center in poor condition. We will refurbish. And the chassis has been manufactured. Let's go. Now, we will probably do another back to first here Monaco just to see how... No, we'll not be doing a back to first here now I think about it. We want to see how many times we could overtake, like lap the cars, since this is, I believe, the shortest lap, if not one of the shortest laps of the race. So I'm thinking that we try and see how many times we can lap the cars here in Monaco. It could be interesting to do, like, stick them at the back and see how smoothness would affect that, but even then I think we'll still come out on top. We just have a car that is that much quicker than everyone else. So we'll see how many times we can lap the field here in Monaco, I think. Let's go. Monaco Grand Prix just finished. Pourchaire won. Piastri ended up 6th due to crashing out on lap 1. Then we ended up pitting him for an extra lap, although he kept up with the back of the pack. And, well, generally just having a bad day. I think that he ruined his first set of mediums in that crash as well. But he fought back, made his way up to 6th. And Pourchaire, as you can see, lapped almost everyone twice. So I focus mostly on Piastri here. Now, if they weren't lapped, Piastri would actually have probably gotten 5th, because as you can see, they only did 76 laps. And Piastri was with softs on right behind Gasly on his hards. So I think he would have taken him, but it's too late to dwell on that now. In terms of drivers, Verstappen moves... Sorry, we need to go through the other teams as well. Red Bull had a good one. 2nd and 4th with Sainz and Norris, Verstappen 3rd for Ferrari, and Gasly scoring points for Alpine. The results move Verstappen up 4 places to 4th, Gasly is up to 5th, Norris move up to 9th, and in terms of constructors we have Ferrari moving up past Mercedes. Development wise, not the best of races due to, of course, Monaco. Not a lot of things happening, but as you can see, Piastri didn't have to defend a single time. He just tried to overtake and get back up. In terms of money, we lose out a little bit here because we didn't finish 1-2 because of the accident, which is okay. But we still made about $500,000 extra. For Piastri, the point goes into control. And again, we're going to get accuracy and control up, and then we'll get the 2 points we need in smoothness. Behrman has 3 points to spend here, which we will distribute on his pace stats. We usually do, 2 in cornering, 1 in braking. Ford is happy with our result in Monaco, which is good. Means I won't get in trouble. And the car development board. First in everything but cooling, as we have gotten used to. Now, we did destroy a suspension in Monaco here due to the crash. We also destroyed a front wing. So I think we'll get that one manufactured as well. I don't think that'll be our last accident, really. So getting on top of it is just probably just a good way of doing things. Refurbishment for Tour Center is complete. As well as the race simulator, the team hub, and a sidepod research finished. As well as front wing manufacturing. Everything happening at once here. But we're going to start a new research. We're going to do side pods again. Because as I say, I think we're just going to focus cooling, get it a bit back up, allow the other teams to catch up by focusing other pieces. Then again, our side pod is something that is lagging behind. So we could, even just doing this, will still give us a percentage point of expertise. But as you can see, the cooling will benefit greatly. So... we'll lag a little behind this season. We'll consider what we want to do next, but if we continue as we have, I think we'll just keep on getting bigger and bigger advantages. So a good suggestion to slow down research, I think. Weather center refurbishment complete. Good. And we have our next race here in Baku coming up. And I think both drivers will make it out of, well, make it to Q3, Q2. And finish position again 1-2, and the streaks are good. So let's go to the race. Altogether, I still say it's a good result. 1-2 to us, 3-4 for Ferrari, 5th for Red Bull, 6th for Mercedes, and it's basically kind of what you'd expect at this point. I think Norris would have probably taken that 6th or even potentially higher position had he not crashed, but it's racing, it happens. Drivers' Championship, Leclerc moves up 2 places here as a result of that race. Constructors, we have no changes. And with that, I think we're done with the race. Let's see how development went. In terms of development, we had a good one here. Not the greatest, of course, but still decent. And probably could have had more, but Pourchaire is struggling a little bit with keeping up with Piastri. He probably should focus his main stats, but again, I want to test smoothness, so that's unfortunately not going to happen. 1.2 million extra revenue from incentives and guarantees is also really good. And we will have some rear wing research complete. I don't know if I want to focus research on the big parts because of the because of the maybe not research anything, see if the other teams catch up thing. From this part forwards, it's going to be in 1.8, which means that we'll have some changes to, well, design for one, but also to our races with backmarkers supposedly getting better to move away, with, of course, the smoothness now potentially being actually having an effect compared to previously where, as I said, wasn't really worth the value. So because of that, actually our project here with Pourchaire and Piastri might actually be pretty good, because now we'll see just how efficiently, well, those 35 points Pourchaire has on Piastri, and by the end 50 points will be. So that's going to be fun. We are going to be playing this season of the Williams Speedrun to the end, at least season 6, potentially a season 7. We'll have to see how how interested and filled I get with the Aston Martin save currently working on. But for now, we're gonna finish get up to the halfway point of season 6 for Williams Speedrun, and we'll see how we do in these final 3 races before we get to that point. So we actually have some research coming up here in just a few days really, and we'll see if we can figure out how the sign has changed, because this is my first foray into 1.8. I decided to get the Williams video done for half the season before I saw the Aston Martin one, both so I could check out smoothness between Théo Pourchaire and Oscar Piastri, but also so I could get a little bit of a look at what the design changes actually are. So with that, let's go to our inbox here. We've just finished Baku, so we get we get told that went well. Now, rear wing research has completed. Hospitality area is in poor condition. Let's refurbish, and we're going to have a quick look here on how the research looks. So we're going to use the rear wing here. The focus lights are supposedly fixed, if you will, so that if you do one thing... well, for research, it doesn't seem to really matter. This should again be 1.8. For research, doesn't seem to be too big of a problem. Does not. Let's see if the design is same, because if so, I'm gonna probably have to start a new video to see the changes. But let's see if we focus here. Bike reduction. Currently, it looks like the main difference is that you just get less, but still an upgrade, even with everything on the right. Everything is red, as you can see, so it's worse gain from design focus than what we had. And as you can see, the minuses are a bit bigger. I think, I'm a little bit unsure, I need to have a look at this. Again, it seems to be a bit bigger. So as a result, the gains are smaller, as you can see, by 0.4%. But turning everything to the right, well, it's been nerfed, let's just put it like that. But it's a very minor nerf. It's still viable. How does it affect time? Takes a little bit more time now, I think. But is that just a basic setup for time? Because if the if the nerf is minor, and it just takes a little bit more time, then I'm a bit confused here. Normal. Okay, so it does take a little bit more time, I think. I'm not sure. But as I said here, turning everything to the right is probably still the way to go, honestly. It seems to be that way. It has gotten a little nerf, maybe, but then again, it's so minor that I can't really really see it. And as you can see, our design focus positive negatives here on the current piece we got hit harder as a result. So I'm actually uncertain if design has been applied to the save or not. It's a bit confusing, but we're going to do what I said in the earlier video. We're going to focus cooling because I just feel it just feels wrong to not focus anything for me. So we'll gain a slight amount of boost for, you know, drag reduction, for instance, and you know, the other stats. But we're going to focus cooling, and we're going to take the hit, and we're going to see if next season might be a bit more challenging. The research benefit is just 5% though, so maybe they nerfed it a little bit. I don't know. Again, it's one of those things where I'm actually confused is the best way to describe it. So we'll have a bit more look in depth in yes, Martin save. For now, however, we're going to move forward to the race, and we'll see how we do there. Special research complete. We're going to start another one again and tune everything down but break cooling. But I'm going to have to probably have a bit of a look afterwards because I thought it would be easy to see the differences here, but clearly I've been mistaken. There we are. And again, we're just focusing cooling. We'll get a very slight boost, but I think it's fine. It just feels wrong for me to not have anything going, so even if I have something useless going, it feels better. We have the Canadian Grand Prix coming up though, so let's see here how tire management might have become a bit more important. We've just finished our first race in 1.8 in Canada. Tire degradation does seem to work properly now in terms of, well, the more worn your tires are, the more it affects your lap times. But I feel like smoothness is still not a good investment. Because, once again, we have if they're on the same strategy, the same tire wear, everything. Pourchaire has, over the course of like a 50% stint, 5% tops in terms of gain on the hards. And that's not just not worth it. Piastri can lap to 3/10 quicker. And if you put... that's on the same strategy. And if we put Pourchaire on a one-stopper, I don't think he would be able to hold off Piastri, even with the smoothness that he has. But again, we'll test it later on. We'll up Pourchaire's smoothness to, you know, try and test. We'll go pace for Piastri. We'll give them 50 points difference. And we'll see how they stack up against each other once we get to that point. Now, with this race in Canada, Ferrari did well, Alpine did well, Red Bull was just outside of the points, and Mercedes, well, didn't have the best of days. Neither did Doohan, who says here he was just 7 times lapsed, but he was actually out of the race. So that's a bit of a weird one that he doesn't have a DNF there, but he was out on 63, but at 67, and that's that really. In terms of drivers, we have no changes here, except for Shogun Yu moving past Paris due to Alpine's good result here. Constructors, Ferrari moving past Red Bull, Alpine moving past Mercedes, and, well, no other changes except for that. In terms of development, I feel like they've added a plus here. Does that mean that we can technically get negative development now? Because that would be fun. But yeah, as you can see, decent development. Both of our drivers were driving together for the most part. But again, we had to slow down Piastri several times for Pourchaire to catch up. Money-wise, also a very good race. About 900,000 extra. Compared to what we, again, should have gotten as a base. And what I'm thinking here is we just get Piastri those 2 points in smoothness. We're going to get accuracy and control up. And then we're going to start working on, I don't know, adaptability maybe. Trying to see if 100 adaptability can, you know, negate some of the negatives of, you know, the weather potentially. But I don't know really. Let's get some points into smoothness for Pourchaire as we planned. For Bearman, we also have a point. Let's get into cornering. And other than that, we have some congratulations in order for Canada. Aerodynamic testing period begins. I'm gonna have to see how that affects cooling. It might be the one thing that we take a rain check on. We are allowed to use aerodynamic periods. But yeah, it's just me being a bit uncertain. Once again, driver that we cannot propose a contract to, but is at least in F3. So hopefully in future we can make something happen there. What I feel like they need to add is just a very simple extra here on the right, as you can see. I can't actually hover over it. But like, can be signed. Yes, no. It's eligible for signing, basically. Because kind of annoying having to go through all of these and just see, nope, not allowed. Do we have any 21-year-olds that we are allowed to sign, though? Doesn't really look like it. We need to get up to 22 before we find... Well, if I check all these, I'll probably find one. But again, if you're going to lose all those high development years, I'm going to be sad. The bear has points to put in. We're going to go for... Yes, one in each of these. Medium and low speed. And technical chief, rear wing. We're going to max that one. Race engineers both have a point each. Let's max pit crew for Irvin. And then I guess we're going to go feedback afterwards. Same here. Diego is now 83. Very good. And ATR period. Again, I think we might not cheat for this. We might not. I'm uncertain still. But we still have the best car. No changes there. And I guess we can prepare, not perform, for the British Grand Prix. So, as I said, everything here looks good. We're ready to go. And we'll still be testing a lot on the changes in 1.8. British Grand Prix just finished. And as you can see, we did a 1-2. We did have fuel issues, though. We ran basically conserve. And, well, both modes on the lowest, and we just barely made it out of there with 200 grams of fuel to spare. And I had that worry from the beginning of the race, which, well, was that Silverstone might use a bit more fuel. There's been some talk on the Reddit that people are struggling with fuel now, so we'll have to keep an eye on that in future races. It could be that the changes to the fuel delta also did somehow mess up the fuel. It's code. Things can have unintended consequences. But Mercedes had a good race, as you can see. Russell and Ocon, both in the points. Well, 3-4. Ferrari 5th with Verstappen, and Haas managed to score a point, with Stroll taking 6th. Very good race for them. Other than that, no big surprises, honestly. That's the Driver Championship. We have Russell moving up to 6th, and Stroll up to 13th, thanks to a single point. Constructors, Mercedes up to 4th now, past Alpine. And Haas going up past AlphaTauri, both of them with a singular point. In terms of development, not the greatest due to, again, we're trying to run split strategies here. I was planning to run a 2-stopper for Piastri on aggressive and a standard 1-stopper for Pourchaire. But due to the fuel being so volatile, we ended up with Piastri running a 1-stopper as well. I'm just running conserve on the hards. So, honestly, a bit of a waste of a race in terms of development. I could have done better, but it's just how things are. In terms of money, we made about 4.9 million almost extra. So basically I doubled the race money that we usually do, which is pretty nice. And we have a new regulation boat. But also we have a point for Pourchaire, get it in smoothness. And again, we'll be testing things down the line. New sporting regulations, final race should get double points. Well, we'll watch for that with this current setup with, you know, just the top 6 scoring points. And we're now off to what will be the final race of this first half, if you will. Q3, Q2 shouldn't be a problem. And we'll be doing a lot more, well, not a lot more judgment. Well, probably that too. A lot more testing in the second half of the season, of course. And I'm also thinking that we'll do, we'll be focusing a bit more on Aston Martin. We'll probably get a season out on that before we do the second half of the Williams. But that's my plan. We'll see how it goes. And what else? There was one more thing that I wanted to take up, but I've kind of forgotten about, so we'll get to that after the race. Just finished the Austrian Grand Prix. We did a, well, passive strategy, one stopper for both our cars, ran everything basically standard to just do some testing on fuel, and also smoothness to some degree, because we don't need to push. And what I generally found out is that we had probably 2-3 laps worth of fuel left at the end there. So I'm a little bit unsure if running standard now is going to be what you have to do, really, just based on fuel perspective. Because it might seem like there are some other fuel changes that have gone through, but it was going to require more testing. Piastri had a spin 20 laps before, well, not a spin, he ran wide, I believe, 20 laps before the finish line, but still managed to hunt down Pourchaire and retake that first place. Leclerc and Verstappen with 3rd, 3rd and 4th, good for them. Russell 5th for Mercedes, and Tsunoda scored another point for Haas, so they now have 2. And in terms of drivers, no changes except for Tsunoda's point. Constructors, no changes up or down. We had a decent race though in terms of development, as you can see, because we had both our drivers overtake and, well, defend a lot, as you can see. And, well, generally we just had a good race, in all honesty. Money-wise, make about 800,000 extra, which is good. But we have almost, well, we have 200 million now, so we have more than enough money to spare. But we are going to end the first part here. Well, the second part, technically, of Season 6 for Williams. We have gotten a lot of work done. And I'll be testing a bunch more about M1.8 once we get on to the second part here. So, thank you all for watching. Thank you very much. I'd like to ask everyone who hasn't to like and subscribe. That tells me out a ton. I'd like to thank everyone who's already done so. And I do hope to see you around next time. It probably will be a couple of days before we see, well, the second part of Season 6 for Williams. Well, the third part, really. Mentally, I don't count the preseason as a part. I count the season in 2 parts. But you get what I'm saying. It'll probably be a couple of days before we see the final half of the season, just due to 1.8 being out, and of course the fact that we're starting a new Aston Martin save. But yeah, thank you everyone who has watched. I am very grateful to all of you, and I hope you've enjoyed. See you next time. Bye bye.